At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
No matter how many times I play that opening, I think it's funny, even though it's not true with our client. He's got lots of rational thoughts. Our guest today in the Author Brand Show is a 45-year marketing veteran with a BS in marketing from Fairfield Youth, Connecticut. And he started market research. He's held client agency positions, brand manager for companies you've heard of like Coca-Cola, Cuddy Sark, president promotion of Intermarket Division, Saatchi, Marlboro. The man's prolific. He's bought in 25 accounts in his career, serving as a fractional CMO 10 times. He's been presenting his career to both small meetings and conferences. He's also recently a guest on numerous business and educational podcasts, including this one. But we're going to talk about his 2-book Fable, which provides quick and simple practical tools to help students, grads, and all executives address that all-important thing we know, which are called soft skills, when they shouldn't be, are called communication skills. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jim Rowe. Jim, how are you today?
I'm very well, Doug. Thanks for having me on your brand.
You betcha. The biggest question people want to know is why should they bother listening to us today?
Well, because most corporations, Inc. magazine has had a bunch of articles on it that productivity is really bad. And a big part of it is because, and the biggest part of it really is communication. And so communication skills are so bad that one of the articles said that $37 billion a year is lost just because of poor communication. Grammarly's CEO in another article said he believes that poor writing, specifically writing, is costing $400 billion, and now companies are having to spend $3 billion on remedial writing training.
Oh my God! So that's a whole another show there about our education system.
Yeah, I'll touch on it.
Let's tell our audience today they're gonna pick up 2 or 3 tips today on how to become better communicators. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So before we get to that, I want to hear more about your background. You've worked with these big organizations and whatnot.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what was it like? How'd you move into being an author after working for Saatchi and doing stuff with Coke?
Well, I never anticipated being an author. And I was fortunate enough to work with, in the early stages of my career, with great bosses who taught me how really the packaged goods discipline of thinking and writing and communicating. Yeah. So I've been a strategic brand guy for many, many years. And then around the middle of the early 2000s, 2 things happened. One is I read the great book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
And it really, I said, man, that's an interesting way to teach a simple thought. And then the second thing I started noticing is that the young grads we were hiring at MME, which was my agency that I co-founded and retired after 27 years back in 2016, I started realizing they weren't that good at writing and communicating and getting that stuff together, despite them, we were pretty good at hiring, we thought, good qualified candidates, and we were able to train them. But you can't just hand somebody a textbook. You need to get them up and running quickly. So the first thing we did, and I think it's the foundation of a lot. I mean, my phrase is to write is to think. And there is not enough skills. And you mentioned the soft skills. We're not teaching the soft skills right. And they are not learning. And the recent studies over the last 4 or 5 years, pay scale study, Inside Higher Ed, Association of Colleges and Universities, they're, somewhere between 50 and 75% of the managers say the students lack critical thinking, problem solving, and communications, particularly writing skills. So in the same studies, they asked the students, and 66 to 80% of the students said they're totally proficient. So they're calling that the skills gap. And so I noticed these things, and I started writing a book in early 2000s. And in 2006, I pulled the book out of my company laptop, and it was gone. I didn't save it. So I put it away. I wanted to shoot myself. Yeah. So when the pain ended, in 2016, when I retired, I started thinking about it again. And then I found a lot of research that supported my feelings. And so I wrote a book about ducks in business to demonstrate the basic foundational property of a briefing document.
Okay. So communication, it's a fascinating topic. You know, I'm a Dale Carnegie graduate, and
Are you really? Oh, that's
I
great.
consider myself a student of everything. I'm not an expert at anything. I'm always
Okay.
learning. I study a couple hours a day, a bunch of topics. I'm just
Yeah,
a
me too.
voracious learner. And I was on a podcast myself just a couple weeks ago about communication. And the questions are interesting, but the first one I'll ask you is why, with all the advances we've made from, you know, paintings in caves to language and putting people on the moon, why is there a gap in this communication? Why can't we talk to each other or listen to each other or both?
Well, I think there's two fundamental problems. Now, a lot of people say, is it because of the internet? And certainly social media has made people just be very casual. I think the foundation is, you know who teaches writing in schools? English teachers. They're very good. I mean, they do a good
Sure.
job of grammar and all the fundamentals, but
Right.
they're all about. I was on a podcast too with a company I support called the organization called the National Writing Project. And the
Uh-huh.
woman who's the executive director, she said, I was an English teacher. And she said, English teachers like to have you express with many words
Yeah.
and express your feelings. So nobody is teaching, there's narrative and argumentative and persuasive, all these different writing styles. We're not really teaching them sort of I'll call it either, I hate the word business writing, but executive thinking in writing or critical writing,
Right.
so that they understand how to put together not just an argument in an essay. We don't do essays. In business, you got to be quick. You got to have it as a briefing
White
document.
paper, short, snap, and like you
Yeah.
mentioned, your internet. I'm not gonna blame the internet, but I can blame this thing. I can blame the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
text generation of who cares about grammar and shorter is better and all that kind of stuff. That's definitely wiped out our gray matter of eloquent thought. Um, you wrote two fables. You didn't do a business thing. You wrote a story.
I
So I'm
wrote a
gonna
story.
yeah
Really, what I after reading Who Moved My Cheese,
yeah
I went, what a great way to teach. And I can remember I gave it to my daughter, who's now home with kids. But when
yeah.
she got out of school, she was a TV reporter
Uh,
out in the field for News 12, and
nice.
here in the tri-state area. And she called me one day, and there was a lot. It was owned by Cablevision, a lot of stuff going on. She said, "Daddy, the cheese is flying all over the place." All the stuff that was going on. And I
Yeah,
remember thinking, that is just so good. You can take I
great.
mean, I've read all the top 5 business writing books. They're
Yeah.
smart, they're written by smart people.
Mhm.
They're kind of dull.
Uh-huh.
So to me, what I wanted to do, it's you can get through this book in 1 hour, learn
Love
the
it.
10 steps. It's a
Mhm.
simple, easy story, and you get it down. And that's the thing I try and promote is get it down to one page. And why
Yeah.
is it important to get it down to one page? It forces you to think through the words. Get it down so succinctly that into each little category. They tell you when you're going to write, start with an outline. Well, this is the outline. And so if you get it down to one page, you eliminate all the bad words, all the useless words. And the
Excellent.
beauty of that is you now know how to think on your feet, and you don't even need to look at the document anymore. You've gone through it so much that you can really be good on your feet. And I've used it for 45 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said you're retired, but you publish these books you're still talking about. Are you like partially retired or just doing
I'm
this for fun or what?
I retired. I started an e-commerce business in 2017. It didn't work out great. I learned a lot, and I didn't really like all the little tactical things to do with SEO and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so I found myself available to start Jim Rowe marketing, and I started being an outside CMO kind of thing again,
Nice.
which I do. And I didn't have to work 60, 70 hours driving into Manhattan anymore, so that was
Right.
good. So I only take on one client at a time
Love
at
it.
this point. And then through that, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been writing the book. And,
Uh-huh.
the first one was launched in February or late January, and the other one was
Yeah.
launched just a month or two ago.
Wow. Okay. 2 in 1 year. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a continuation. What happened with the second book was, okay, I gave them a format and an outline. They gave anybody the ability to read this story,
Yeah.
remember it, enjoy it, get through it.
Yeah.
It's 10 steps. You can write it down on one page. That's great. And then I finished and I went, 45 years, I got a lot of other things I want to tell them.
Right. That's right.
And so I started writing an appendix, and the
Mhm.
appendix was just boring. It was dull. It was just stuff. So I thought, okay, I'm a marketing guy. My real strength is branding. So I created the adapter method, and it's basically it's the business cycle. So adapter stands for, and it's an acronym:
Yeah.
analyze, deduce, author, perform instead of present, tackle instead of execute,
Yeah.
evaluate, and refine. So, and then it really fit with all this research I found that said people don't know how to think clearly anymore. They don't know how to do the analysis and go through the hard stuff. And you don't just sit down and start writing. You got to get your research together. So I haven't really started promoting it yet. So it's fun because some people say, I've had a few people say, it's kind of simple, right? A couple friends, it's kind of simple. And I'm like, that's the point.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
How many copies did the Who My Cheese sells? Millions of copies. I mean,
27 million copies worldwide, 37 languages. And it's about 107 pages or something. Yeah.
Right.
I give it out to people.
And we're a publishing company. We're ghostwriting and publishing. So I'm sitting listening. You going, man, maybe I'm overthinking this stuff. I should do more fables. We've storyfied a lot of our leadership books, right? Because they're, like you said, they're kind of like dull. So we try to bring some drama in there and some conflict, some hero's journey. But a pure fable,
right?
I promoted it to one M&A guy. He said, maybe. But he has too much experience, too many things he wanted to cover. So we just chunked it to smaller vignettes, smaller stories. It wasn't one all-encompassing story because there was more than one idea he needed to do in a book. But I like it.
Well, and I made, it's not, the name of the book is Get Your Ducks in a Row, but I use my last name, ROWE. So it became this branded thing. By the way, I didn't start there. I just thought, get your ducks in a row. And like when I came back in 2016, started working, then I went,
hey, it's my name.
And really what it came down to is you can't get the URL, get your ducks in a row. There's too many people who have it. So I went, get your ducks in a row, .biz, .this. And all of a sudden I went, you idiot. Use your last name.
E on there.
Yeah. Well, some of us are slower than others.
That is brilliant. I'm definitely gonna get a copy of some. Now, how did you come up with deciding to do a fable? Because of Who My Cheese was
absolutely. And I remember thinking, I didn't grow up saying, I'm going to be a writer and an author and all this stuff. Right. And I didn't do it to promote the agency or anything else. I just said, people need this. And I've been teaching this, frankly, it's the standard marketing briefing document, but I've been teaching this to young people. And I love that part of it for 45 years. And quite honestly, as an agency guy, which I spent 30 of the 45 years doing, you go in and you see a lot of executives that are smart. They know their field,
right?
But meetings are chaotic. I find myself often being the guy, okay, wait a minute, let's bring everything back here, going up to the board, writing it down. And these are good, smart people in successful companies, but the communication was disastrous. And by pulling this down, it's a very simple approach. And it's really the approach of critical thinking. And we need to start teaching it in high school. In college,
or even before. So give us the guts of it.
At least June.
Yeah, give us the guts of it. Give us the process, please.
Sure. Well, it's very simple. First of all, this may seem weird, but you need to start with who are you talking to? Who's the audience? Are you talking to the CEO? Are you talking to the client, to the agency, to consumers, whatever, or an organization? So, and then the very first thing is, what's the purpose? All right. So what are you trying to accomplish? And the purpose is different from an objective. Why are we here today is the purpose. All right. So then you do that. Then you move on to, the background. And the background takes into account, there's no reason to give the background to people who already know it, but they may not know everything. So you got to get the level playing field of the context. All right. So that's the background, or sometimes the situation analysis, give them some of that research. Then you move on to, all right, so what are the issues? What are we trying to solve? And so it's purpose, background, issues. And you find that, okay, sales are down, or this competitor is coming in, and I'm not going to give the book away, but you can imagine what happens in Duck World. And so you go from the objective. Yeah, exactly. Who are the bad guys? Exactly. So how do you avoid those bad guys?
Yeah.
Is really, okay, we need to regrow our business. And so that's the objective, or stop the decline. Then you move to the hardest part, which is the strategy. How are you going to do it? And a lot of people don't really, believe it or not, this
Yeah.
was early 2000s. I had a VP of sales say to me one time in front of the team, can you explain to us the difference between an objective and a strategy? Because I don't think everybody gets it. Now, to me, that is sort of like, what's the difference between, an orange and an apple in terms
Yeah.
of, can you describe it? It's so obvious, but it wasn't. And so,
Wow.
and you also have to understand, not everybody who's in business had a business degree. And so you don't necessarily get out understanding some fundamental things. So now you've got, this is what we want to accomplish. Here's how we're going to do it. Show me the rationale. You want me to spend $5 million on this program?
Yep.
What's the rationale? What do you think is the reason why I should support you on this? And
Yeah.
then once you get through that, then you get down to the tactics. Okay, what are we using? We're using advertising and digital marketing, or we're going to go out and hand out samples or whatever the heck it is. That's
Right.
the tactics. And tactics are anything that you can buy or measure or cost out. And then you move to the simple, a lot of people break down, you get this whole great plan, and then they screw up the execution. So then you
Right.
get down cost and ROI, next steps, the timetable, and it kind of ends like that. So you go through those 10 steps, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's what most, marketing people probably look at me like, really, you're doing this? But the amount of people who don't have this kind of training, it's not 10101. It's, wow, isn't this great?
Wow. And so you're only taking on one client a year because you're semi-retired. What type of companies do you generally work with now? They
Small,
established
medium
startup?
size, no, no. Little, small companies that don't have a marketing department
Yeah.
can't afford the marketing department. The beauty of what I had done, and I wanted to be, I've sort of been entrepreneurial my whole life, but
Yeah.
the concept was, let's bring, and when I was at MME, it stood for Manhattan Marketing Ensemble. We would go into smaller companies and
Uh-huh.
say, you don't need a marketing guy.
Right.
We'll be your marketing guy. And that's not always the case, but that's kind of, so I did it 10 times.
Yeah.
If you wanted to hire a marketing guy, I'm not going to be full time. I'll be your fractional marketing guy,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
my team can deliver the creative. So now I don't have to hire a team. I have a freelance team of people that I tap, that I've known for years, that I tap to do the stuff that I don't do. I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
I am a copywriter. I write most of the copy. So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of the way we do it, and it's a lot of fun. It's working with one client at a time. You bond with them. You become very important to them,
Yeah.
and they become important to me. At this
Yep.
point, I want things to work.
I just had a little company meeting before this interview. We decided to, work with less clients and increase fees. It's just much easier to work with fewer people than
Yeah,
to have big ones. For an agency,
yeah.
at least for us, it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I retired, we had 36 people, and they're
Yeah.
still there, and I didn't
Yeah.
have to go through COVID, thankfully, with them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good run. But 27
Yeah.
years, I was done. I was tired. I was 62, so
Yeah.
not so
Yeah.
bad.
Okay. Very good. So, are you going to use this book to pick up next year's client, or what's the plan?
That's not. I don't use the book for that. I have two. This is going to sound. I don't mean to sound obnoxious, but I think this is so needed throughout the world.
There we go.
That people need this book because,
Yeah.
my headline sort of is, give me 1 hour, I'll teach you the 10 steps to get it down to one page. And if you do that with your team, and there's hundreds, thousands of small and medium-sized
Yeah.
companies, the big companies are spending $100,000
Yeah.
bringing in training people.
Right.
Read this book. You're going to like it. And the people, I mean, of course, some of my friends are on my reviews, but what's more exciting is to get people that saw the advertising I did on Amazon, bought the book, and sent me a note. I loved your book.
Oh,
And I'm going to use this as this. And then somebody said, hi, I just bought your book because so-and-so recommended it to me. And 2 weeks ago, I had an order for 25 books. I have no idea who it was. It came through Amazon, but it was all on one day. And it was
okay.
an even 25. So somebody bought it for their team. So that's what I want. So I'm giving discounts on my site if they want to buy in bulk. And so the goal is
Yeah.
to sell to schools and to sell to organizations to help, quickly. Or that's how Who Moved My Cheese did it. It was all bulk quantity.
Yeah. Number one, having that kind of intention and purpose is not obnoxious at all.
It feels like, who does he think he is? There's so many other
No,
authors out there.
I'm gonna get on my stump from it because we decided, I think it was over a couple of years ago, we do ghostwriting and publishing for authors.
Yes,
So
I
people
saw
write.
that. I didn't know it when I signed up.
Yeah,
But
it's okay.
yes.
But my coach, I had a business coach listening to some of my recorded sales calls, and he said, "Hey, this one call, you were excited, you were enjoying talking to the guy, and you had a lot of commonality, it looked really well. The second call I listened to, you were kind of cold, kind of indifferent,
Huh?
didn't really
Interesting.
care. What's up with that, Doug?" And I said, "Well, that second guy, all he did was talk about himself. It was an ego play for his want to be famous, whatnot. Because didn't interest me." He said, "Why do you talk to those people?" I'm like, "Well, I'm in business. I just talk to anybody." He goes, "Stop talking to people you don't like or don't want to do business with. Only talk to
Yeah.
the ones. By the
Yeah.
way, what are you focusing on?" Like, I focus on books that change the world.
That's what I want to do. I know that
It
sounds
doesn't sound obnoxious to me. It sounds like,
okay. Good.
yeah, man, I want to help the world. My first thought was, yeah, like you, business people, yeah, the young get in those schools. They
Yeah.
learn how to read, write, and really write and really think and communicate.
Well, I sent it to
Um,
the principal of my son's high school,
yeah.
and he sent me back a note like 3 months later. I just figured he hated it, ducks and business. What the heck is this? And he sent me back this great note, basically saying, I couldn't agree more with your thing. I got to figure out a way to get you involved in the school. I got to talk to the English department. So, and I mentioned it. What's interesting now is some of the schools, my alma mater, Fairfield U in Connecticut. I
Yeah.
reached out to them, and they have started just a couple of years ago a program for all freshmen. They have to
Mhm.
take business. It's called messaging and persuasion, and
Mm,
because they recognize. So they're all excited.
great.
We're going to try and see whether or not I get a
Oh,
speaking
great.
spot there. So I like to talk about it. So
Yeah.
I mean, doing some tours and selling some books and helping people. What a great way to spend retirement.
What a great, and yeah, because you're making a difference, right? You're not just,
Yeah, yeah,
for the money or ego. No, I want to make
no,
help people communicate better, make the world a better place,
yeah,
which is why I
yeah.
have my little story. It's why I brought it up, because it's the exact opposite of obnoxious. It's not about you. It's about what you can do for others. So
Yes, yes. Cool.
congratulations, sir. It's all good
Well,
thing.
thank you.
So I love the process. I can't wait to get the book. Or are they both out now? Both of them?
Yeah, they're both on Amazon.
Yeah.
Get your ducks in a row. And my website has the ability to click right to it. Or if you
Okay.
want bulk, you can buy it from me at the website. And if you're looking for it just in search, you have to put in my name, Jim Rowe, with an E. Or there's a dozen other Get Your Ducks in a Row books that
No,
can
no,
be
no.
targeted.
We're gonna put in the show notes below here, folks. There's an actual domain to go to Jim's site. So go ahead, give us that real quick.
Well, it's Jim Rowe, ROWE
Okay.
marketing.com/books or
There you go.
/ got your ducks in a row. Actually, I think that's what it says.
Okay. JimRoweMarketing.com. That's Row with an E. It's right there below you, folks. You read it there. And /books or / get your ducks in a row, which
/ got your ducks in a row.
get your ducks is plural ducks and row with an E.
Correct. Thank you.
Got it. Okay. And then you say you might, there's a discount coupon
Yeah.
code or something?
Well, if you buy 10 or more books in the book section, you'll see if you want to buy more, they can buy them directly from me, and that way
Yeah.
I'll get it sent to them. And
Yeah.
so that's somebody bought it just directly on Amazon, 25, and they would
Yeah.
have saved a few bucks if they bought it directly.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, but if you're going to buy it, buy direct from the author. I love Amazon. I get stuff from them every week. But if you, at the end of the day, they're taking half of the share of the revenue.
Yeah,
So
I will say this: without Amazon, we couldn't have done this.
that's right.
I don't think one of the big publishers would have put up with me because they take all creative and marketing control, and I had no desire to do that. My son
Thank
did
you.
all the illustrations. We're a pretty creative family, so
Yeah,
I was not going to give up that part.
outstanding. I can't wait to take a look at it. And folks, click below and get your book. Any parting words, Jim?
I would say just to make sure that you don't take writing and communication for granted. And it needs to be fixed. That people think that they can do it well. And I'll leave you with this. Tiger Woods and I both play golf. Tiger Woods is a little bit better than I am. All right. But if you look back at Tiger Woods, that all of these pro golfers, they're at the range every day. They have coaches, and that's how they become great. You can't not write at all and not get much training writing in college and expect to be just good at it. You're not. You think you are, but you're not.
Lovely. Great advice. Jim Rowe, great having a show today. Hopefully come back sometime and talk about your third book.
Love to. Thanks, Doug. Oh.
Okay. Thanks again. That completes our show today for the Author Brand Show. You're going to want to take notes. I hope you did. If you didn't, click below because I have show notes there for you. You can download them, read them, get Jim's books. I'm sure you're going to appreciate it. Have a good one.